Salutations, fine connoisseurs, and welcome back to another episode of Super Smart History. I'm Professor Nathaniel Foster, sitting here with Rahul Wadhwa.
That's right, and today we're at Christ Church Art Gallery observing the exquisite works of hyper-realist artist Ron Mueck.
Ron Mueck is possibly the most famous hyper-realist sculptor, creating a piece of work that resembles photographs, but with his own little twist.
Ron Mueck's attention to detail is what makes him such an exceptional hyper-realist artist. In so many cases, you find it difficult to tell whether you're looking at a real person or a sculpture.
And the way he's able to manipulate fiberglass, silicone, and resin into such intricate, detailed shapes to form the bodies is outstanding.
And you can really see how much time he puts into each piece with the hair. He creates distinct separate nylon strands which he heats and bends and curls, and then continues to drill thousands of holes in the head, putting each individual strand in one of the holes.
But the part that makes Ron Mueck really special is proportion.
Many of his pieces seem like life-size sculptures at a glance, but in reality are only 2 or 3 feet tall, or even up to 3 stories high.
This hyperrealism mixed with unrealistic proportion is what makes Mueck's pieces so fascinating and so popular. Mueck was born in Australia, but found his start in Hollywood. Most notably, he contributed to the making of the puppets used in the 1986 blockbuster, The Labyrinth.
Eventually, Mueck was able to start his own special effects company in the UK, where he made photorealistic props and animatronics for movies. However, these creations only looked real from certain angles, as only certain angles were used for making the films.
It was this desire to create photorealistic objects that looked real from all angles, and the experience and skills he learned from designing puppets in Hollywood films, like The Labyrinth and The Storyteller, that helped to launch him into his own solo art career.
So, speaking of his own art career, what exactly are we looking at, Professor Nat Foster?
Well, here we have Mueck's In Bed, which is very clearly just a woman lying in bed.
Yes, this was made in 2005 and is one of Mueck's most popular pieces. And I've got to say, my favorite part is her face.
Yeah, so you can just see her looking out into the distance. It's just very, very interesting. You can see the detail, the way her fingers press into her face.
Yeah, it's like she just saw something shocking, and like a spider, and she just doesn't know what to do.
Yeah, very distraught, and even in her eyes you can just feel it.
Yeah, like she doesn't know what to do, and it kind of makes the viewer think, what are we supposed to do?
Yeah, there's just so many questions in life. Like, for example, the pillow, the way it supports her head, yet if it wasn't there and if maybe it was on the other side of her head, she would suffocate and die.
That's right, it's like a double-edged sword. The pillow supports her, but if it was the other way, it would kill her.
So many uncertainties.
Now, the other really, really magnificent thing about this piece is its scale. This is actually 3 times the size of a regular human being, making this a very large and distinct piece of work by Mueck.
Oh yes, just look at the people next to it. They look almost the size of her head.
Now, this next piece we have here is Drift.
Yes, this piece is from 2009, I believe.
And I think one of the most fascinating pieces is his scale. Much like Mueck's work, it's a very funny scale. It's only 2/3 the size of a regular human being, standing at about 3.5 feet tall.
Yes, this one's smaller, whereas some of the other pieces were much larger. But then, I think the next thing you want to notice is his pose.
That's right. The way he's dangling from the wall, his arms out to his side. It's almost as if it's seeming to represent the crucifixion.
Yes, the way he wants to represent himself as, almost the god of his life, the ultimate power, and he has all control.
Right, it's another one of Mueck's social messages where he's trying to show that the American man thinks himself to be superior and more powerful to the rest, and thus this godlike aura. But at the same time, he's also being sacrificed and crucified to consumerism.
Yes, indeed. And then you see this also, the same uncertainty that is common to many of his other works.
Right, it's just the same vulnerability we saw in Bed.
Yes, he's just on top of the float, where it would be so easy just for him to fall off. It could be anything, and then he could drown and die.
It's another double-edged sword where he's able to relax on the float, but at the same time, if he fell off the float would end up killing him as he would drown in the water.
Exactly.
Now, here we come to the last and possibly my favorite piece.
Yes, this is Man-Eating Cereal.
Man-Eating Cereal is such an appropriate fame, and I just love the amount of detail that went into this work, and what a marvelous specimen this is to look at.
Yes, you can't tell. Is it like, it almost looks like it's real. I can't...
Right, it almost looks as though this is a real human being we're looking at.
It's just the power of his work.
A gorgeous human being at that, too. Now let's talk about the bowl of cereal, because there's a lot of symbolism that was put into there.
Yeah, he's partaking of the feast of cereal.
Right. It's like the bowl is life, and this man is just enjoying this bowl of cereal that is life. Well, that about just closes it out for Ron Mueck.
Yep, that's all. Thank you for exploring him with us.
And once again, we'll see you next time on Super Smart History.
Have a nice day.